Well, we started, when I came on as the literacy consultant that I mentioned earlier, with a board-wide DRA at the time, the Diagnostic Reading Assessment Tool through Pearson. We started with that in 2004 to sort of get a measure of where our students were. And it was pretty dismal, actually, when we first did that. At that time, I think that was 2004, as I said, there was myself and one special ed consultant, and consultants weren't heard of here in this board. Simply was a small board doing its best in a huge, the largest territory in Quebec, with a lot of poverty. I think about 3 years into things, I was at a meeting in Montreal. I finished early. I went downstairs and honestly, I bumped into EBP. I bumped into a room full of people from all 9 English school boards except for us. And I looked around and they were doing this wonderful gallery walk with people showing their data on the walls, and what were they all doing and why weren't we there? I didn't know who Geneviève was. She quickly waved me into the room. I don't know if she knew who I was, but I sat down and I was overwhelmed with what I saw. I came back here in a frenzy, went to my Director General, who was Dave Royal at the time, and said, what the heck is going on and why aren't we a part of this? And we were in transition again between yet another Director General, and I guess it just wasn't settled yet. He was aware of the project, but he hadn't gone anywhere with it just yet. And no sooner had I brought back this news than we started to hear of the 3 wise men. But they were Don Taylor, Tony Lacroce, and Jordi Rosa. And Jordi was our particular individual working with us most closely, and we learned a lot with Jordi. And then Melanie and I were sort of assigned the task. Melanie is our sanction data person here. Wasn't data at the time. There wasn't such a title. I asked that we add that to her task. And we started to work with Geneviève, and we've not turned back.
Every term we provide to them their term results in a spreadsheet manner that clearly indicates which students are struggling and perhaps even what part of the subject they're struggling in. So we try to triangulate the data so that the student, if they're struggling in ELA, in the read competency, that perhaps there's a DRA result that goes along with that, so that when a consultant goes to the school, they can address the school and say, do you need support with reading strategies for this student? We see that this is happening. And we try to do that every term.
We worked at the time through the resource teachers, who then worked with the teachers in the interest of building capacity. Again, here in this board, for any of us to get to all of our schools more than twice a year is almost impossible. There's so many things that can get in the way. But we worked with the resource and the principals. Principals as leaders, the pedagogical leaders of their schools, we were very intent on making sure that, as evidence will tell you, as long as it's going well with the principal, it'll be going well with the school. Where we had strong principal leadership, everyone was on board. Where we didn't, it was a hard sell. We would, as a team, the consultants, Geneviève, myself, we did, I think, probably a week tour in a van going from school to school to school with all our gear and everything else. And principals, for the most part, were very interested. Some of them were a bit overwhelmed. Staff, certainly, teachers in particular, in the beginning found this a struggle. They had just gone through reform, but still the conversation needed to be had about, now what are we going to do with that great stuff that you're doing in the classroom, and are you willing to share that? I think the majority of my teachers today, though, would agree that you can't justify ignoring data anymore. I'll just throw a number out there. For us to bring the principals together, there are 15 of them. Any one setting is about $27,000. So for people to get their heads around what it costs to bring any membership of any one school all together in one room is very costly. So we usually never have the luxury of bringing all staff together. We have 1 or 2 representatives per school who come together in any one area, and often we work in regions, so we'll do 3 regions, because even then it's just too far apart to bring everyone together and too costly. So we do virtual, but there are in a PDIG, and that's why we write the PDIG, because we do want to be sure that we meet at least twice face-to-face. And we've gone to, with the help of the PLC, MESA's DG Fund, and EBP, of course, we would be lost without the EBP process. We've gone to every school, and we go every year and revisit where they're at the beginning and at the end. So for a small board, we have a lot of challenges, but it's all, the heart and soul is around that MESA partnership agreement, EBP, PLC process. I can't imagine how we did it before. In 2004, we were 69th out of 72 from the bottom. And we've been in the top 10 in the last 4 years, and we continue to rise. And there was, I think in 14-15, we were number 1. And we've been number 1 in the region for 4 or 5 years now. So despite all our challenges, and I mean they're huge compared to our neighboring boards even here, let alone the province of Quebec. So it's quite something. It's pretty encouraging. Yeah, and those strategies are working, but I mean they must. That's evidence-based. I want my money back if they're not working, because research says they do. So if you do it, and you do it correctly in the right context, there will be change, and we're seeing it. The challenge is any model that we've been presented with is primarily one where you would have in any school all the grade 4 teachers, all the grade 6 teachers, cycle 1, cycle 3. We don't have that situation in any of our schools, 2 grade 6 teachers. So we have to do virtual PLCs for the most part. We line that up around any particular subject, about any particular goal. We'll say, okay, that sounds like a PLC opportunity, and we'll set that up through a consultant and say, okay, so do you want to set up a PLC around this particular response piece? And they'll virtually do that. We also run PLCs for principals. We use PLCs all the time. Almost anything we try to do, our first thought is the PLC. It's a double-edged sword. The fact that education never sleeps, the fact that it just doesn't stop, and if you're a type C person at all, which I'm not, people will tell you, there's never that feeling of, there, I've got all my wood piled, I can go to sleep. So that can be a bit frustrating, but at the same time, that's the excitement. It's always new. There's always something new. It's never going to be tidied away in neat little drawers. It's always going to be something you need to keep abreast of. And there's a bit of a feeling of panic about that. There really is, but it's also the fuel that fires us. And a big part of my role in leadership is to help people understand that it's imperative that we continue to make it better. Our success rates are good, but that's based on a 60. In the province of Quebec, it's 60. We can improve. And we need to know how to improve, because it's urgent and we can't waste any time.